before we get to the episode, we just want to say thank you to everyone currently watching this on the live stream. And if you're listening later, this episode was recorded live when we participated in Extra Life Game Day, which is a 24-hour live streaming event presented by the From Superheroes Network, raising money for Sick Kids Hospital, which is Canada's largest hospital-based child health research institute dedicated to improving the health of children. For both live viewers and future listeners, if you haven't already, visit extralife.fromsuperheroes.com to donate. And thank you to everyone who already has. Now let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Fandom Show, the podcast where we learn about fantastic fandoms by talking to our favorites about their favorites. I'm Kyah Green.
I am Stephanie Malik.
And today we are talking about the most fandom of all the fictions. Today we are talking about fanfiction. Oh, baby, I'm excited for this one. When I heard that we were doing this topic, I was like, oh man, if you could tell my 16-year-old self that this would be my life one day, I'd be happy.
As soon as I heard that we were doing fan fiction, I started blushing because I was like, oh my God, fan fiction is so horny.
It is not exclusively
Not
horny.
exclusively. I mean, I learned that as I read, but like my preconceived notion of fan fiction was like, it's all real turned up on the sexy level.
Yeah, and that's true of a lot of people, I think. I think a lot of people don't know the width and breadth of fan fiction. They think it's simply the depth, if you will. And you will, I think. I think we all will. Steph, you okay?
No, you have to go first. What do you know about fan fiction?
What do I know about fan fiction? Well, I know that fan fiction is people writing fiction about the things that they are fans of.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it in one. And I used to read it when I was a teenager and still sometimes read it, depending on whether I'm getting really into something. But for a while there, when Buffy was the only thing I could see, feel, or hear, I read a lot of Buffy fan fiction.
Which ones? Which, like, what are your pairings? I know.
I mean, I don't know if I can like really narrow it down. I read a lot of it.
Okay.
I will say I do not care at all about Buffy's various pairings. I was all about Willow.
Of course. The cute nerdy girl?
Yes.
Heck
and
yeah.
I have read a lot of other fan fiction. I'm just going to get ahead of it now. Usually gay stuff.
No, you?
I know, me?
You don't like gay stuff. Famously.
It's famously not the reason I watch whole shows. And for some reason persist watching them longer than I should.
And then force other people to also watch those shows.
Yeah, that's not famously my thing. Steph, what? We're already falling apart.
Oh, no.
Well, what do you know about fan fiction?
I mean, I know it's a thing that people write. There are many sites dedicated to it.
Hell yeah.
Obviously, now I have learned that there's some of it is very, very sexy. Some of it is just things that you wish had happened with the characters.
Yes.
And some of it is just things that you dream up that could have happened to the characters. So using things that characters, sometimes real people that exist in the world, and writing stories about them.
Yeah, didn't you used to read actor fan fiction about the Lord of the Rings?
No, a role-played actor fan fiction.
Oh, I'm so
the Lord of the Rings actors. Thank you.
My mistake.
Please put some respect on my shame. I haven't read a lot of it in my time, really. But I did read, there was a lot of post-She-Ra fan fiction that I was like, I must read all of this. I have to know. And then found out that one of them was written by the executive producer of She-Ra. And I was like, this is too good, and now I've died.
Oh, and you remain dead to this day.
I'm a ghost still, yeah.
Huge.
I look great for a ghost. Do you know who does know a lot about fan fiction?
Oh, I have a theory, but why don't you confirm it?
It is Diana McCallum, who is a writer, podcaster, and co-creator of the From Superheroes Network, the network you're listening to right now. She is also the author of Sex Lives of Superheroes, which comes out on November 19th and is available for pre-order right now. Hi, Diana.
Hello. I'm so excited you're here to talk about this.
This has been a journey just sitting here quietly. Steph, you have the most insane history with fan fiction I've ever heard. To read almost none of it, but to RPF actors is...
I've RPF'd a lot of, and like actors in
to
AU.
roleplay
and stuff
RPFs is such a huge leap to be like, oh, but I don't read fan fiction.
I didn't read it. I just made it.
This is the
I
thing.
lived it.
That's right. This is something that everyone should know about Steph. Steph goes 0 to 100 real quick.
Yep.
If you want to do a thing, you do all of that thing really, really fast.
Yeah. You
But
know,
yeah, this has been a real trip learning about Steph's history with it, and then Kyah making like the new tagline for fan fiction, which is people know its breadth and width, but only care about its depths. Look out, Archive of Our Own. We're writing it right on the
Kyah's
thing.
coming.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It truly is. Okay, so let's get started with, for people who do not know a lot about fan fiction, how would you, somebody who has enjoyed a lot of fan fiction and writes fan fiction yourself, how would you describe fan fiction?
I mean, I feel like what you guys described it is very close. It is just fiction about any kind of fictional world to me. I'm very focused on fictional. I actually am not super into RPF, real person fiction. But yeah, it's kind of just anything you've written about a fictional world. So it's there's like fix it, which is a thing you said, which is if you don't like the canon, you change what happened in canon. There's alternate universe. You can take the characters and put them in any other universe you want. There's short ones. There's long ones. Some of them are very sexy. Some of them are called fluff, which means there's not going to be any sex. It just makes you feel good.
Oh, nice.
that sounds like my sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So you'd be a fluff. So yeah, it really is just any length. You can post it on the internet. Kind of the only rules are you cannot make money off your fan fiction.
Right.
Those are the hard and fast rules. You have to post it for free or just keep it to yourself for free. You don't have to post your fan fiction online if you don't want to. But yeah, just any on Archive of Our Own, they call it a transformative work. Which is fan fiction is any writing about a existing property that just kind of transforms it in any way.
What happens if someone tries to monetize it? Does everyone like go buck wild on them?
Oh, yes, because that's how you get sued. Because fan fiction is only barely legal. It's not protected. It's just kind of, it's considered transformative. It's not like you definitely can write fan fiction. It's like, it's pretty hard to sue you for it unless you are making money off registered properties.
Right.
Okay.
Because that's how so there's some people who will post their fan fiction on Archive of Our Own, which is the very, very big fan fiction website right now. And then at the end, you can't monetize anything on Archive of Our Own, but they'll be like, go to my Ko-fi or my Patreon and you can buy fics. And it's like, you cannot do that. You'll get the whole site pulled. You will get everyone in trouble. Ooh. So you cannot monetize your fan fictions.
The whole site will go down if you start doing that stuff regularly.
Not like whole site, but it makes it really hard for they have a legal team on Archive of Our Own who takes care of this and make sure these fics get pulled that have that written at the end. They've banned the authors.
Whoa.
There's almost no rules on Archive of Our Own except you cannot monetize. There's not even ads on Archive of Our Own. It's a fully free website. It's one of the only ones on the internet.
Oh my gosh. And it has its own legal team?
It has its own legal team. So they do Wikipedia level fundraisers every year.
Oh, okay,
how much to get donations to keep the site running.
Are you the bad boys of the fandom world? Is that what I'm hearing? Are you skirting the law? And then
we're skirting the law, but we've also got our own legal team to help us skirt the law.
I love this.
And we also are beholden to no one because we don't follow capitalist rules and we don't make any money. We're just a community.
That's dope. You're like the pirates of the
we're the pirates
online
of the
fandom.
internet. Yeah. I would agree.
That's sick.
That's amazing. So what's your origin story in all this? What started you? What got you hooked into fan fiction?
Okay, there's two different stories because what got me hooked into fan fiction is different than what started me because my first fan fiction I wrote was before I knew what fan fiction was.
Whoa!
Oh, so it came
just at home
naturally
being
to
like,
you.
I have to write about this.
I don't know if it was grade 2 or 3. It was a writing assignment of some kind. I don't know what the assignment was, but I know I wrote a story about the Power Rangers fighting a monster that ate buildings.
Incredible.
I know I wrote that. I had this pencil that changed color as you wrote with it, and it was the colors of the Power Rangers. And I wrote the whole story in that pencil. And my teacher probably hated it because one of the colors was yellow.
Oh, no.
It's very hard to read, famously.
Very hard to read. But yeah, I found it years later, and I was like, I wrote a fan fiction in grade 2 before I knew what fan fiction was. I didn't own a computer yet.
Oh, my God.
I'd never been online.
Oh, my God.
See, kids know young who they are. They do.
I was born.
You were born to fan fiction.
So I definitely wrote it very early. And then I actually found found out what fan fiction was, I remember the day.
Like it was yesterday.
Remember where I was.
No, I do remember where I was. I was on our family's shared computer because that's how it used to be, youngins.
Yes. It was different.
I was on the shared computer and I was going to Young Justice fan sites. If you guys recall, Young Justice is the team of sidekicks in DC Comics.
Okay,
This will shock neither of you.
Nope.
Yeah, if you want to hear about sidekicks.
My previous episode was on sidekicks. If you haven't listened or watched,
It's very good.
So I was like just on like fan sites looking for like message boards and stuff, and I was on one of them, and it said, I think it said fan fiction. I was like, what's that? And I clicked on it, and I like collected the comics, and I loved them, and I clicked on it. And fan fiction on these sites used to be more curated. It wasn't like anyone can post them. It was really just either the person who owned that site or like their favorites, like the best ones. So there was only like a dozen fan fictions on there. And I was like, what are these? And I started reading them. And I actually called out to my mom and I said, Mom, there's free Young Justice stories on the internet. She came into the room and she was like, what? I'm like, free Young Justice stories. We don't have to go to the comic book store. And she was like, that's great, and left the room.
Meanwhile, your world had been changed.
As is her right to
Yes,
just do that.
Yes. But she didn't know the import of what had just happened
She
to
didn't know
you.
what had just happened to me, because from there I like figured out what fan fiction was. I read all the ones that were there, and then I was like, is there more of this?
Yeah, it's the
There
head
was-
exploding.
yeah.
Where just like all the
Yeah.
little dots lit up.
And then I
Yeah.
found like a lot more. So that was, when did I start reading Young Justice? Like 2001.
Whoa.
So a while ago.
Incredible. Okay, so that's your origin story. Let's back it up a bunch of years. How did fan fiction like start? How did this begin? Like, obviously, I'm sure since the beginning of time, somebody was like, "This is my Odyssey."
Oh, I
You
can't
know?
wait to make Queen Victoria marry Henry VIII.
Totally.
I mean, honestly, Shakespeare is just real person fiction.
Hey!
Oh, that's true.
Hey!
That is true.
That is
In a
absolutely
lot
true.
of ways. I mean, even Romeo and Juliet is just based on like a popular story at the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Oh my
not an original character piece that he
Yeah.
came up with. He
That's-
wrote the most beautiful version of the Romeo and Juliet story, but that's not original. So like, it's
Damn.
fan fiction's existed forever. Like, how many different versions of like the Hercules story are there of like myths and legends?
Yeah.
It's only become called fan fiction in recent years, but like, it's always been around.
Yeah,
Like,
at some point, legal teams were not necessary.
not Archive of Our Own built off the back of Shakespeare, who didn't get sued for writing a Romeo and Juliet fan fiction or Henry VIII fan fiction.
Yeah.
Or I forget which kings all got, like, Romeo,
Yeah.
Anthony and Cleopatra. They were real people.
Caesar.
You write a play about them. That's a fan
Richard
fiction.
II. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, but the modern version
The
of
modern
fanfic.
version of fan fiction really came around through Star Trek. Thank you, Star Trek. Thank you, the 90% of women who wrote the fan fiction then and now. So
Absolutely.
Star Trek, the fan fiction really started. There was no internet yet. It was the 60s. I'm talking original Trek
Yeah.
with Kirk
Yeah.
and Spock. And they got traded in fanzines at like Comic Cons. So
Cool.
people
So
would
cool.
like submit it. They would print it off in fanzines, and you could buy them or trade them at cons. And that was really the advent of like modern fan fiction. I looked it up recently before we started. I think the first zine was called Spockanalia.
That is
So it
also
was
what I've
very
read. Yes.
Spock centric.
Yeah, very beloved Spock.
Very. Oh yeah. Oh, I mean Spock. Yeah. He rules.
Yeah.
Spock absolutely rules.
And
So
from what I
people-
understand, that was also the origin of like slash fiction as well, because a lot of people.
I believe it is, yes, because Kirk and Spock are very popular. And in my mind, it's like, I'm like, that's one of the lesser ships because like things have gotten so big on the internet
Yes,
now.
yeah.
But I think it's unprecedented how popular Kirk and Spock were as a couple for back in the day. And even analyzing old Star Trek episodes now, I'm like, this is really gay. You fought him while he was in a sexual like conundrum.
Yeah.
And let it-
I mean, when you think about it, it was so gay that like hundreds upon thousands of unconnected women were like, I have to write about this.
This is the gayest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's the gayness of fan fiction to me is always it's always connected to how much creators don't want to put women in things. because you have Star Trek, which has one female character. You can only ship her with so many characters. She has 0 lines, so her almost never speaks.
Yep.
So if you're watching a show and you like the characters, you're gonna be like, well, someone has to smooch.
They're stuck in space together. You don't think they're gonna smooch?
Yeah, 8 out of 9 of the main characters on this show are dudes. So you know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna ship the guys together.
Yeah, and the 2 ones you probably have a crush on.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So you get to write both of them kissing.
Yeah, that's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly. Any way you cut that, that's a good time.
That's a good time.
So that was the origin. It started in that place.
Yeah,
and how has it grown since?
I mean, by leaps and bounds, because I haven't really followed it through the 60s and 70s and 80s, but just through my own having first read a fan fiction in about 2001, I've kind of seen it change over the years. Originally, fan fiction on the internet was more people had personal websites devoted to each individual fandom. So my Stargate fan fictions would be on a site called Heliopolis. I remember that site very well. Cool. So it's these are all the Stargate fan fictions. I think my CSI fanfics were it was called What Makes the Desert Beautiful, which was such a long name for a website. I'm like, Heliopolis and What Makes the Desert Beautiful is such a long walk.
That is so funny.
But yeah, so back in the 90s, actually those were 90s websites too, because I would also read Highlander fan fiction, which was came on in the 90s and I watched it late. We're all dedicated GeoCities websites that people just built themselves to house fan fictions.
I love it.
Oh my God. Mwah. Sometimes I still find the old ones. I was reading Sentinel fan fiction the other day. Sentinel is this old, very bad show that I loved. Had a sidekick.
Your thing.
My thing. And then there was a big shift to fanfiction.net. So fanfiction.net was the first, not the first probably, but the biggest. I think there was 3 that came out around the same time, but the biggest website that was we put all the fandoms together. You don't need this one website each thing, but it was owned by one company. It had ads. It actually was monetized, but the writers didn't make anything. But they didn't need donations because there was ads on the site. So that was the first one that was oh wow, all the book fandoms, movie fandoms, TV fandoms, all the fandoms you want are here. And that was kind of game changing. Yeah. So kind of all the individual sites kind of went away, because the individual sites could also be you couldn't really post it yourself. You would email it to whoever owned the website, and they'd be they could decide if they wanted to put it on.
Oh my God.
It wasn't even so much. It was a little gatekeepy, but it was also their website.
Yeah,
fair enough.
A lot of them were just I only post the fics I like. Yeah, it's my website.
Yeah, that's legit.
But also LiveJournal was in there around the same time as fanfiction.net. LiveJournal
That's where I
was,
did all my stuff.
Yeah, LiveJournal was where more communities were built of commenting and following each other, because fanfiction.net I don't think had a very good follow function for writers you liked. You could add their stories to your favorites, and then every now and then you would just have to go and be they write anything recently, and manually check if those writers had written anything else. But yes, so fanfiction.net was this big thing in the 2000s. They probably would have stayed pretty big, except it was, I don't know the year, it was probably the 2010-ish, they banned all NC-17 fan fictions. And did they ban Slash, or did they just want to ban Slash?
Impossible.
No, it would have been impossible.
What fanfic
no,
is
they did
built
not.
on.
They didn't. And if you don't know, listeners, Slash is when it's 2 characters of the same sex. So male, or female. Yep. Stories are slash stories. The slash being the slash in between the M and the M, or
Kirk
the F and the M.
Spock. That kind of thing.
So that's a slash, which is weird, because also if you ship straight couples, there's also a slash, but we don't call it.
It doesn't count in that case.
That slash is irrelevant.
Unimportant. That's a heteronormative slash.
So fanfiction.net banned NC-17 stories, because I don't know why they were getting in trouble. I think probably the advertisers didn't like it.
Got it.
Would be my guess, since
They
they had
advertised on
ads.
the wrong site.
I know, right?
What are you thinking?
So there wasn't so much a mass exodus, but they just deleted all the NC-17 stories.
Yeah.
So nothing above R rated was just suddenly gone.
Oh my
They
gosh.
gave you a warning, but you didn't have anywhere else to put your story.
Yeah.
Wild.
So you had to pull it, and that was when Archive of Our Own kind of came, and they're Archive of Our Own is an archive. It will not be monetized. Everyone can post whatever they want. It really is just an archive, and it's very well run, and it's been the biggest one for, I'm going to say 8 or 9 years by now, and it's huge. And fanfiction.net still actually technically exists, but it's no one really uses it anymore.
They burnt themselves.
Yeah.
You did this to yourself.
You got
fanfiction.
rid of the sex.
From fan fiction, you fools.
Fools.
So as a writer yourself, what do you find is the difference between like a really good fanfic and a really bad fanfic?
Oh man, a really good fanfic. A really good fanfic understands the characters, but it doesn't just understand the characters, but it understands the characters. It understands what we like about them and what we want to build off of. Because whenever you have a show you like, because I think most fan fiction is actually show-based, unless it's like a franchise like Star Wars or something that has multiple movies.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is like shows, books, things where you can really sink into the characters.
Yeah.
It's like, there's always those episodes where you're like, they were so out of character in this episode, or like something happens in an episode about a writer who didn't get them, and it's like, oh, that's part of their character forever now.
Yeah.
And
Or like Game of Thrones ends.
Yeah.
Like they just
when it ends in season 5 and then we all just live happily ever after and don't have to think about what happened.
And characters get assassinated in that way.
Or even small things. Like, this is a weird example just because I have CSI on the mind, one of my earlier fandoms. But there was like a season 1 episode where one of the characters, Nick, revealed that he was like sexually assaulted as a kid. And it really like came out of nowhere. And like the episode didn't do a great job of dealing with it. And then like for like 13 seasons, it never came up again. I'm like, so we all agreed that didn't happen, right?
We're retconning that, right?
Like, not even, like, it's like didn't matter in any direction. Not like he
God.
healed from it, not like he was hurt by it. It really was just like a thing.
Dropped a bomb and we're like,
is that anything?
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing that as a fandom, when you're writing fan fiction, like, and you ignore that episode. And it's like, and so it's the things that like grab you about the character kind of just like heightened. And I think the thing that the fandoms like about the characters so much, or what about the world maybe, and then they just really bring them to their conclusion. And also usually what makes it like a great story is, they smooch. I don't need more than smooching. I'm some people know, you guys know, I'm asexual, so I'm like, smooching is just fine. That's all you need.
Smooch and hold hands. I'm into it.
So I'm
terrific.
proof that fan fiction isn't just about sex.
I love it. I love it.
But I do like an emotional connection. I'm like, you guys should smooch.
Hell yeah.
I think that's one that really gets to the core of what is resonating with the fandom. And like, but like, it also is like, you wrote it for you. That's the great thing about fan fiction. Every fan fiction's good to the person who wrote it.
Yeah. And that's wonderful.
You
There's
wouldn't
something
have
just
written
so pure about that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have written it if you didn't like it.
Yeah.
And do people put comments and stuff on them? Just like when the...
Oh, yes. I mean, good people do. Thank you for commenting on this thing I wrote for free and put on the internet. I really appreciate that.
Because obviously one of the beautiful things about fanfic, I imagine, is when you're looking for more of characters that you love and you see someone else gets them in the way that you get them.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's very huge. So yeah, it's always really nice to leave a comment if you've read a fan fiction that you like, and your comments can be anonymous or like make your username handle, whatever. We're all anonymous on fan fiction. No one's writing their real name on there.
Can you recall like a particularly fun comment that you got on any of yours?
Oh, a particularly fun comment.
No pressure. We don't have to stick on this.
And we can come back around.
Not really. There's like just really kind ones. Like I remember I got a comment and it was like for a very old fan fiction. I'm like, what the hell? And they're like, and it was like, hi, I just wanted to let you know I read this every year. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's so
like,
nice.
I wrote this in university, girl. I assume you're a girl. 90% of you are.
And if not, girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
A couple more R's, girl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Really roll it.
So yeah, there was that one. There are always really nice ones. The nicest comments are people who like copy parts of it and like, this part was my favorite. That's always the best part.
Oh, I love that.
So nice.
That's so good.
So leave a comment for your writer. You'll get more fan fiction that way, guys.
What shows or properties tend to have the highest volume of fan fiction?
Oh, volume? It is going to be...
Who are the horniest fans, I guess? Is my
Who
question.
are the horniest fans? Okay, I think this is the top 3. I think I used to know for sure, but I think the top 3 is One Direction.
What?
Harry Potter.
Yeah, that I would have guessed.
Supernatural.
Yes, okay.
Supernatural.
15 seasons of 3 hot dudes.
And then
you're
you
gonna get...
Especially with the way that they ended it. Like, I'm not going to put spoilers up on here, but...
even before they ended it, they've had a lot of fan fiction.
I mean, I know a slash pairing from that by their fan fiction name, which is Destiel. Like, that's how
Yeah,
I haven't
Destiel's
even watched it, and I know about Destiel.
That's pretty crazy. They were not a canon couple.
Yeah,
They
that is
never.
nuts.
They never.
Did you
spoke.
watch this show? Because it really looked like it, though.
Oh
like,
yeah, I
for
was
most of the
I was a Supernatural girl.
Why have we not talked more about
That makes
Supernatural?
sense.
Oh my
That
god,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Supernatural girl.
Two
I think
of those
those
three
are
I might have guessed.
I think those are the top three. It really the problem is I would actually say it's hard to know overall because of the way that like there hasn't been one website the whole time.
Got it.
So like I would say like fanfiction.net was really big in the early 2000s. So like no one moved over like their Stargate fanfictions to Archive of Our Own. A lot
Got
of the
it.
like original Star Trek ones didn't get moved over from not even just like the 60s one, but like TNG, Voyager.
Yep.
Archive of Our Own didn't exist when they were popular. So there's a lot of fandoms whose like their stories kind of exist in two spaces. So it's hard to get a read of the numbers.
That makes a lot of sense because I remember when I was on fanfiction a lot, Buffy was like at least one of the top, if not the top, of all the fanfictions.
I think Buffy would also be very high on fanfiction.net and about a medium on Archive of Our Own.
that makes
I
a
would
lot of
guess.
sense because I'm
Yeah.
sure a lot of them stayed over there because it was massive there at the time.
Yeah, so it's just kind of like if it's not a current or at least like a live fandom, like people will
Right.
move some over just to be like, oh, this isn't going to go away and fanfiction.net might just get deleted.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like I imagine fanfiction.net probably had a huge Lord of the Rings category, whereas I
And
don't know
several
if that.
of them were mine.
Hell yeah, they were. I want to ask more, but I don't want to. I'll have to dig for it.
I mean, you're not. Oh, you can try.
I can try, yeah.
50,000 Lord of the Rings fanfictions.
Well, I guess I'm busy for the next year.
You can try to find my style of writing in there.
Oh my god! Though, like fan fiction, and this will lead into the next question, but fan fiction also is a way for writers to like really try their hand at writing because there was a person who used to do Lord of the Rings comics called The Very Pervy Diaries of various Lord of the Rings characters, and that person was Cassandra Clare, who later went on to write like YA novels. Like Cassandra Clare has, I think it's the Divergent series. Like it's a huge series of books that this person just like started
Is she
writing.
Divergent or is she Shadowhunters?
Shadowhunters. You're right. It's
Okay,
Shadowhunters.
I was gonna say because I'm in the Shadowhunters fandom. I think that's right.
It's Shadowhunters. Yeah, but like she started
One of
writing.
my people.
I think that's my girl.
Yeah, it was all writing Lord of the Rings fanfic online, and like it's amazing. So leading into that, are there any big name celebrities in the fan fiction community and some of the most famous fanfics?
I mean, the most famous fanfic is I'm gonna say this is like a tie because 50 Shades of Grey is a fanfic.
Yes.
That is true.
So 50
Yep.
Shades of Grey was a Twilight alternate universe where Bella and Edward are just. Those their names? Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Oh wow,
Definitely.
you both knew.
I've read that book because
you've read the book?
I have because in high school I had a friend who really loved Twilight and I kept making fun of it, and which, you know what, as a fan I shouldn't have done. That wasn't cool. But then she said, well, you got to read it if you're going to make fun of it, and I was like, you know what, that is absolutely true. So I read it and continued to make fun
It was
of it.
such an easy read, though. It was such a like delicious garbage read.
It is.
Oh,
and,
you
and,
read
you know,
Twilight, not 50 Shades of
No,
Grey.
no, no.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't read that.
Okay, I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, I have not read that. I although, you know, I see it. I see why people get into it. There's a time and a place for
sure,
it. Again,
for
I'm not
sure.
going to yuck anybody's yum. Go
If
for
you
it.
hate your 2 children and your husband out in suburban Wisconsin, you know, get it.
No, absolutely. Like, read it. It's
Yeah, hell
I
yeah.
haven't read it, but like, you know, you do you. But yeah, that was a like published online Bella and Edward fan fiction where
Yep.
they were just an alternate universe. He wasn't a vampire.
was
They
just
were just
into
2
BDSM.
people who liked BDSM. It was really popular. So she's like, change the names, and I just got a book. You know?
Hell yeah,
Yeah.
girl. Get
Yeah.
it.
That makes a lot of sense. And I know there have been a couple instances of that. Like I know there have been people who have published various books. As I was doing some research, I realized that Kylo and Rey, also known as Rilo, I believe.
Raylo, yeah,
Or
yeah,
Raylo,
yeah.
sorry, that's it. Has produced several books, as it turns out.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that pairing because I don't like it and I don't get it. But
Yeah, it doesn't-
but they do make a lot of content.
Yes,
which is
they
always
clearly
surprising
do.
because I'm like a straight pairing. You never see them at the top.
Yeah, right?
But they seem, and I know it's not canon, but they seem related.
They seem related.
They seem like they're cousins, and I'm like, I can't.
It
with
might be a
these two.
Luke Leia thing that I'm just used to the main characters being related in one way or another, but they do seem
They
related.
seem related. So that when they had that like weird kiss, I was like, ugh, I shouldn't be watching
I
this.
think it's because I agree, and I think it's because like he is like Luke and Han's son. And then throughout the
Luke
three...
and Han's son. Someone's been reading
sorry.
fan fiction.
I actually you don't ship them. I mean, give me Finn and Poe any day.
Absolutely. The
Finn
fact
and
that
Poe
that
all
was
the
not
way.
canon is ridiculous.
Brutal.
They have chemistry.
But yeah, so Leia and Han are actually like Kylo's parents. But
Yeah.
then throughout the whole like trilogy, Rey is being raised by all of the original people. So it's like, it does kind of make you feel like siblings.
Yeah.
Like she's getting a parent relationship from Leia, from Han. From
Yeah, it's a little like that. Like if you're like stepbrother, like dating your stepbrother or whatever,
Lost
or
style.
like where it's like they're not technically related, but you did grow up in the same house, you know?
Yep, I do know. But also,
But-
they have a huge online thing of step siblings for porn. So, like, people love those type of
Yeah,
things.
very true.
People
and,
love that stuff.
And also, they are not that, so
They are
it
not
doesn't
that.
even matter.
No. So if you like it, good on you. Honestly, good on you for getting so high up in the rankings.
Hell yeah,
And
way
like
to go.
the amount of fics. I think also maybe because they never went canon. I find that like actual canon couples usually have not as many fan fictions because
makes
there's not as
sense.
much to imagine and to
Yeah.
be like, oh, I wish.
Yeah, you got what you wanted.
Yeah, you can just watch the show or movie.
Yeah. You can see it with your eyes.
Yeah, you don't have to sit there in front of your computer and be like, but what if?
Yeah.
Just dreaming of the possibility.
It's the like unsatisfied part that you're like, but I'll never quite get it, so I'm gonna keep going for it.
Yeah, I'll write 18 different versions of this.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so I understand that some like authors love fanfic and some don't. Like I know, I hate to bring up Joss Whedon, but I know he loved the fan fiction for Buffy.
Oh, I actually didn't know that about him.
Yeah, apparently, because he also grew up, imagining things and the things he liked, so he enjoyed that other people did that in his world. So I know that some authors love it, some authors don't. Yeah, is there any how do most writers feel about this? People playing with their characters.
I feel like most people publicly, at the very least, say they like it, and it's a good marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Because it also, honestly, having a built-in fandom always guarantees an alive fandom. You're
Yeah.
sharing stories, you're sharing fan art. It's like your fandom stays alive. You can get more books made, you can get more TV shows made, you can get more interest made. I don't know how many times I started watching a show because I saw gift sets of it on Tumblr, and I'm like, what's that show?
Yes.
So fandom makes your property grow. It
Yeah.
makes you more successful. So I think people have gotten very smart in knowing that encouraging fandom is good. So for writers, I think they don't mind. I don't like when people ask actors about it because that's puts them on the spot.
Yeah.
Famously, there are a few who do not like it. Want to hear about Anne Rice?
Very much so.
always.
Oh, so very much.
Anne Rice does not like when people play with her interview with the vampire characters. Has she passed away now? Is that why this is all happening now? I actually let me check on Anne
You mean
Rice
the show?
real quick.
Because clarify this for me, Steph. You might know because you've been rewatching.
Yes, she has
Interview with
passed
the
away.
Vampire.
This is why this has been happening.
When did she pass?
2021,
Okay, so not recently.
not recently.
But because the original series wasn't explicitly queer, it was just really queer.
It's just homoerotic.
It's actually, this is going to sound crazy because I didn't bring this up just to promote my book. I write about it in my book. The original books were very much they don't have sex, and we explicitly say that.
Really?
Because for those vampires, the bite was their sex act. That's a penetrative act.
Okay.
And sex doesn't procreate in that way for vampires, so they don't actually have sex. So she was very so when the books were only out, and even when you watch the movie, it's sexually charged, the original Tom Cruise one, but there's no sex.
Huh.
It's implied. So she really did not like when people played with her characters and wrote fan fiction, mostly because they made the characters have sex, I imagine, is her reasoning. So she was the first person to do this and was the biggest person to ever do this. She got her category pulled from fanfiction.net.
No way.
She had her legal team write the website a letter. Within 3 days, the category was removed and all the fan fictions were deleted.
That's
Holy
devastating.
shit.
But also hilarious given that the current show is so friggin' gay.
I can't
Homosexual.
believe she didn't put in her will that they can't fuck. That's what's so crazy about the show being so sexual and them having sex all the time in the new show. Because I'm just I don't say rolling in your grave lightly. But
She is rolling in the deep.
Yeah.
She like wanted them to be sexy and not fuck for some reason. Well, like your character's your choice. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But the show always, as soon as the show came out, I was like, does Anne Rice okay with this? She had all of our fan fictions deleted.
That's so funny. I had no idea.
So a couple other authors followed. None as big as her. I think like Terry Brooks, or was it Terry Goodkind? It was one of the Terrys. One of the fan fiction Terrys. I can't remember. But yeah, she was the biggest name who did it. Archie Comics also pulled their category.
Really?
I think because it was like pre-Riverdale, they were very like wholesome. Like if you read an Archie comic,
Oh,
we
yeah,
were going to
yeah.
the pop shop.
Yeah,
and we're-
exactly.
Even though we're in a throuple. Even though we basically
so
were
true.
always in a throuple since the 60s. So
Absolutely.
they had their category pulled as well. I actually remember in university, one of the first people I ever met who, like, I admitted wrote fan fiction because she told me she did. It was like this girl I met in university. And I was keeping it a secret from like a lot of people because it was still very taboo. And I was like, what do you write? And she was like, Archie. I'm like, but you're not allowed. And she was like, we found a way to get it through.
That is like wholesome on a level I can't even. Is so good. That's so
It
good.
was so good because I knew there were two categories that weren't allowed. It was Archie and it was Anne Rice.
Oh my God.
The badasses within the badasses.
She was the badass. Like I'm breaking the rules with this Stargate fan fiction, but you're writing like unallowed categories.
Oh my God.
Banned category.
Banned
Holy shit.
categories. So yeah, those all got deleted and pulled. But she
Wow.
hid the Archie ones because there was a category called original fiction, which nobody used because we were all there to read fan fiction.
Yeah.
It's literally
and
the
they
name
would
of the
just
site.
yeah.
They hide it in there.
But they would hide it in there, and they just wouldn't categorize it as Archie fan fiction.
Smart. I have to ask one follow-up question to this because, like, I hear a lot, especially in Harry Potter worlds, given everything with J.K. Rowling, and we don't need to go into that very much, but the idea of the like death of the author, the idea that once these characters come into being, they belong to everyone. What would you say about that as a fan fiction writer?
That they belong to everyone. I mean, belong, I don't feel like is the word, but I guess maybe it is because I feel like once you release something into the world in a creative manner, you're giving everyone the opportunity to play with it,
Yeah,
either
to
in their
imagine
mind
Yeah.
or on paper.
Yeah.
So like belong doesn't feel right because it does, because I just talked about the legalness of like you can't make money and you can't own it.
Yeah, totally.
But like the right to play, like a public space maybe.
Yeah.
Like I feel like once you release something into the world, it's like when you go to a park and you play on the swings. It's like, yeah, everyone can do that. You don't own the swings.
Yeah.
But everyone can go have their interpretation of what being on the swings is like.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Like I've never really thought about fan fiction as like a like fictional public space.
It absolutely is, especially the world that it exists in now, I think, because, as I've said, Archive of Our Own is completely unmonetized. Like, there's no ads. There's no profits. It is just a, like, we're doing this for love of the game.
Yeah.
We love it. We love to write it. People love to read it.
That's so cool.
I also love to read it. I do both.
Amazing.
Just because we like how it makes us feel.
Yeah. It's just like purely joy.
Yeah. And I can see in, like, I don't know, I feel like fan fiction a little bit more than, like, I guess the non-monetized aspect, because I can see why you get mad if you're like, if someone makes a YouTube video with your characters and like the characters are actually alive and moving, because those are also usually monetized as well. And like you can actually see it. But yeah, fan fiction is so just like, we're all just using our minds here.
Yeah.
We're all just playing in our mind space.
Yeah, we're just imagining as hard as we can, you know?
Sorry,
Like-
I really liked the thing you wrote. Sorry, I became obsessed with your idea.
Yeah, because like, isn't that the dream as a creator and author, that people are so like into your world that they want to live in it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be, because that's how you like explode, and like that's also just such a nice compliment.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely. And this is just going back to the authors who love fanfic. The term Kripkeed. Do you know about this? The guy, the
Kripkeed,
supernatural. Yeah. Can you explain that? Because I think that's a really cool concept about this. He's the writer of Supernatural.
Yeah. I've never heard of this.
My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that because of fanfic that was being written about characters, he actually later on made some of that stuff canon.
What?
Because he was inspired by that.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I actually am not sure about that one. I mean, I would absolutely believe it. Kripke has done so much now that I actually feel like you could use that to mean several different things.
Oh.
You got Kripke. You left your show after it stopped being good.
Oh, no. Yeah, so this one says it means to have events in fic or fanon validated by new canon, reflecting the frequency with which supernatural canon confirms supernatural fanon. As opposed to the fan and crushing Joss Whedon, Eric seemed to plunder our fan fiction, to see into our hearts and fulfill our fanish desires.
I mean, he did do that a few times. I would say the one where, like, Sam and Dean go and watch the play about Supernatural.
That is one of my favorite
Great
episodes
episode.
of the entire fucking show. It's beautiful. It's so like hat on a hat meta, incredible.
That's so funny because that's also one of the best episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender too. Is they go watch a play of all of their.
It's beautiful.
Why does that work so well? It
I
works
know,
so well.
It feels so cliche.
It
and
does.
Like it shouldn't work.
Like
but,
Game of Thrones did it. Like a bunch of things have done it. Who
love
knows?
it.
But I would have to like see the evidence of that for Kripke because more often than not, I found he would like take your theories and be like, it was like slightly queer baiting for a while is what we said. It'd be like the angel who's in love with you, obviously. And we'd be fans and be like, he admitted it. And things like that. But for the most part, I don't really know what that would like feel like to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. This is from one of our patrons, Amber. How do you feel about authors filing off serial numbers by changing character names and publishing fic as original work? I know we talked a bit about it in terms of 50 Shades of Grey, but as a general concept, like, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I feel like great. I feel great about it. No, I feel like you were inspired by something. You wrote a thing about it. You wrote an entire thing. Like it's not, you can't do that when you're just like, it's Lord of the Rings, but it's Master of the Rings. Like
I just changed Frodo to Bofo.
Yeah, that's just copyright stealing. But if you've been inspired to write an entirely new story and like you've taken the characters that already exist and you're like, and I sent them on a journey to see what they would do in my story, that's still your story.
Yeah. And isn't that what so much of writing is any creation is being inspired by something and being like, I have to do something with this and I'll put my own spin on it. But ultimately, like, everyone's inspired by something.
Yeah. And having like the experience of being in a couple writers' rooms, all writers like communicate with each other using these tropes. Like, why don't we do one of these? Like, oh, they did this in this episode of this show. Why don't we do something similar to that? Like, we're all taking each other's stuff and learning from it and being like, that was a very cool move. How do I do that? You know?
There's tropes that everyone follows. There's TV tropes, or you could just like, fan
There's a
fiction
whole website
tropes.
about it, tvtropes.com or whatever.
We're on there a few times.
I mean, Joseph Campbell has whole books about how there are no new stories, and it's been the same stories since the beginning, right? So,
and that's kind of how I feel. Yeah, there are no new stories unless someone is ripping off like kind of your entire like world and universe. Like if you came up with a very specific magic system and like a fantasy or something, then like that can feel a little like stolen. But if you've written a whole new story and like you have changes, like that's your story.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite tropes?
My favorite tropes?
Yeah.
Oh,
this
now
is
we're
also
getting,
from Amber.
Now we're getting into the personal stuff. This term has changed since I've started reading fan fiction. It used to be called hurt comfort. Now they call it whump.
And do you know why it's called whump?
I do know why it's called
Can you
whump.
explain it to me? Because I have heard this phrase several times between you and Jocelyn.
I do know. Andrew, my beloved, has also asked me why it's called whump. And I do know why it's called whump. This is so one of the first and best whumpies is what we call them, the characters we beat up or that we injure or that we hurt, is Daniel Jackson from Stargate.
Okay.
He would get hurt on that show so much. They loved dropping that guy off a cliff or like injecting him with poison. Or, like, that guy. I loved Daniel so much. Every week I'm like, what are you going to get into this week, boy?
Oh no, Daniel.
They put this guy through the ringer. They killed his wife.
Oh my God.
And I think Stargate was on for like 11 years. So he got he got whumped. And the term whump comes from the sound when he passes out and hits the ground. It sounds like whump.
Oh my God, seriously?
He is the original whumpy. He's the reason the term changed because before that it was called hurt comfort. When I grew up, the word whump did not exist. We called it hurt comfort. And he's the whump in Whump.
Oh my God, he's famous
What a claim to fame.
I don't know if the actor Michael Shanks knows this.
Someone has to tell him.
Who I
tell
have
him.
met exactly once and was very nice. But I wasn't going to tell him about Whump. Would have been a weird couple minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I guess who wants to take that bullet is
Well,
really the
because then he's going to
question.
go on the website and be like, oh my God, what have I done with my fall?
I can tell you about one actor who knows about Whump. I can't. Which I feel very bad. I can never remember which twin was on Killjoys of the one of them's Iceman.
Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. This is going to drive me
Aaron?
nuts. Aaron something. Okay, keep talking.
I cannot help you. Carry on.
Aaron Ashmore.
Ashmore, the Ashmore brothers.
Yes, the Ashmore
Thank
brothers.
you.
I think Aaron was the one on Killjoys. I'm pretty sure. So he, Killjoys had a lovely fandom. It wasn't the biggest show in the world. His character got, stabbed in season 1, and he found out what whump is somehow. He tweeted it out. He was like, what's whump, you guys?
Oh,
no.
God. And the whole Womp community was like,
Oh, no. Do we tell him?
they know about us.
And you do have to kind of explain it, because the weird thing about whump or hurt comfort is that you want your favorite characters to get hurt.
Yeah.
It's not the characters you hate, which seems like what it would be. So people had to tell him, it's like, we promise we like your character, but we injure him a lot in fan fictions. So he and eventually the show went on for 3 more years, and every time there was an episode where he got hurt, he would tweet out and he'd be like, "Wumpers are gonna love this week's episode."
Oh my God.
He actually just was like,
Oh my
get
God.
excited, guys.
Did you feel seen?
I did, actually.
Yeah, that's nice.
And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, as a marketing strategy, I was like, I will tune in this week.
Yeah.
this works.
Senpai noticed us. That's what that vibe is.
And so the premise of that trope is the dynamic of somebody getting hurt and somebody taking care of them.
Yes, so it is. This is I'm not going to speak for other people who like this trope, but yeah, for me, it is very much the character you like the most or relate to the most gets hurt, and then other people care about them, and you're like, that must feel nice. Or you want to see yourself reflected in that way. You want to see the characters you like being cared for and loved and helped, and not just abandoned or something. So it's not like you hurt them in a vacuum and then they just die. Or that's not what happens in the stories. They get hurt and they get rescued, or they get saved, or they get healed.
That's nice.
And it's also again, not so different from I know that in the Buffy writers room, they had an acronym, PWIP, for Put Willow in Peril.
Oh,
And it was it was a rule they had in the writers room of if we want to make an effective episode, the more we put Willow in danger, the better it's going to be. And it's it's a similar concept, right? It is a storytelling device that just works really well.
Yeah, it just ramps up the stakes no matter what. You're going to read something with high stakes if you're reading a hurt comfort or a whump story.
You're going to care.
You're not going to be I bet it's fluffy and nice. You're no, someone's going to get stabbed.
Yeah. And I'm
Someone's
going to worry.
Get trapped in a burning building. And I'm going to worry. And then I'm going to be oh, thank God they're okay. Oh, their wounds got tended.
Oh, so nice.
Thank you for tending their wounds.
I think that's lovely.
Or it can be emotional. There's also emotional hurt comfort. If you're just helping someone who's having a panic attack.
Emo whump.
Yeah. We don't call it that, but sure, we can have that.
You're going to now.
I'm going to forever.
The old emo whump.
Emo whump. What is the best piece of fan fiction that you have ever read?
Oh my God.
I mean, huge question, obviously.
I've been reading fan fiction since 2001 or grade 2.
If you had to estimate how many you've read, would it be in the thousands? In the
Oh, it's thousands.
It's easily in the
Yeah,
thousands.
because some of them are short. Sometimes I read 6 a night.
You've gotten
I'm
your
feeling in,
10,000 hours.
Yeah,
of fan
if I'm
fiction.
feeling in a short mood, I'll just read some fluff ones. If I'm feeling in a longer novelesque mood, it'll take me a couple days to read one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's thousands. The best one, I probably shouldn't pick
Just
one of my own.
any that stand out to
Mine
you.
are really good.
I believe
But she
you.
won't tell us what they are,
I
and we'll
won't
never
tell you.
know.
She won't
They
tell
are
us.
secrets.
Okay, fine. While you think on that, is there a weirdest fanfic you've ever read?
There's a lot of weird ones.
That's also a hard list, I'm sure.
It depends on what weirds you out. But oh man, what was the weirdest one I ever
Because
read?
I imagine if there's a weird thing you can think of, someone has written fan fiction.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
the
the rule of the internet.
and also whatever you think is weird, someone else thinks is great. I don't really like mpreg or kid fics, and mpreg is when men are pregnant, and kid fic is when adult characters get turned into kids, usually through magic or something. I just don't like anything with children.
Yeah, I don't. That's not what I'm looking for.
No,
Relatable.
but
Not my thing.
I think the weirdest things are when you're first reading fan fiction and you don't know those tropes, and they're not labeled sometimes. People label their fics really well now, but in early days they didn't. Because I remember the first mpreg one I read, which might be maybe the weirdest one, just because it wasn't that weird, but it felt so weird. It was a Merlin story, Merlin, the old BBC show.
Oh my God, that show's so good.
Oh, it's so good.
So good.
So I was reading a Merlin story and I'm having a great time. He's getting kidnapped by some witches. I'm like, fuck yeah.
This is my thing. Let's go.
Arthur's gonna come save him.
You know he's coming in.
And then halfway through, they started doing this spell to him, and then suddenly Merlin was pregnant.
Nope.
And I'm like, if that's your thing, fine. But I'd never come across it before. I'm like, what's happening?
I'm out.
Yeah.
Who came up with this?
It's okay that it's totally great that it exists, but to be surprised by it,
To be
is
taken
strange.
by it,
yes,
was a core memory of my fan fiction.
so
days.
funny. I've definitely been reading some fan fiction and come across something and been like, oh nope, not one of these. Nope, I'm out. Yeah.
It took a turn I was not prepared
Yeah.
for.
I do also have, actually, this isn't weird, but it is the one that's always stuck with me as like, what an unbalanced but great story. And it was a Buffy one.
Hell yeah.
It was a Buffy Leverage crossover. If you know the show Leverage, they're
No.
like, oh, it's such a good show. It's like 5 thieves who like steal from rich people.
Fun.
Oh, it's so good. It has a small but dedicated fandom.
Love that.
So it was a Buffy Leverage crossover. I'm like, oh, these are 2 shows I love. I love
Yeah.
this. And it was really long. And if you find a good fic that's really long, you're like, excellent, I can cuddle it and read
yeah.
this. And it was really long. And it actually had an incredible plot of why like Buffy needed these thieves to steal this thing to save the world. I was like, it was super well structured. Everyone was in character. And I was like, I'm having a great time. And it would be like a chapter of like really great plot, wonderful banter, really good stuff. And the next chapter would be like 5,000 words of just sex scenes between characters who have never even talked to each other. I'd be like, what?
That's like Whiplash.
It was so interesting because I'd be like, oh, this chapter's just sex. Huh. Okay. Parker from Leverage is having sex with Faith. They've never met.
Wow.
Which was my big problem
Yeah,
with it.
that just doesn't make sense. They wouldn't have talked.
Yeah.
And it's just like really long graphic sex scenes. So I'd be like, okay, but like the plot's so good. So I would go to chapter 3. I'm like, oh, back to the plot. Yeah. And then the next chapter would just be like long graphic sex scenes. And
That's
I'm like,
so funny.
it's so weird because like usually if there's like a lot of sex scenes, it's like, oh, this person really just wanted to write like sex
Yeah.
scenes. But to like
get
wrap it in such an interesting story was so wild to me. It was like, it really felt like watching a porn for the plot.
That's so funny.
It genuinely did. To this day, I think about it. I'm like, damn, that story was well written.
Yeah, Playboy for the articles vibes.
You just fast forward through it. Yes, 100%. That's so funny.
100%. It was such a weird balance of a story. I've never experienced anything like that before.
That's incredible.
Amazing. All right. I think I know the answer to this, but what is the nerdiest thing you've ever done in relation to your fandom of fan fiction?
You don't know what the nerdiest
Okay.
thing I've done in
What?
relation to
Yes.
fan fiction is. Is it the nerdiest?
Do you have it all
or
tattooed on your back?
Is it the nerdiest or was it the most work? When I was it was the summer between university and high school. I have 3 older sisters, and they all moved out before me, obviously, and I was moving out to go to university. So my mom sold her house because we've gone from a fine-person house to a one-person house. She didn't need that big a house. So my sisters all moved away, but over the summer, like our house was sold, but we weren't moved into the new house yet. So we lived with my aunt for 2 months. Her kids all moved away. The reason this is relevant is because my aunt did not have internet.
Oh, no.
This was a time when like there's no Wi-Fi. You have to actually have internet in your house to have internet.
God, yeah.
So she didn't have internet, but I had my computer, so I could still write fan fiction. I just didn't have any internet. So for the entire summer, I would put a floppy disk. Oh my God, a floppy disk.
Oh
I
my
would put
God.
a floppy disk into my computer. I would save my stories. I would walk half an hour to the library. I would use a public library computer.
Those were the days.
To upload my fan fictions to fanfiction.net, I would check if I had any reviews of my old stories. And then I would open up a bunch of tabs of stories I wanted to read and copy them into a Microsoft Word document to read at home.
That is incredible. I love that so much. The dedication, the commitment, the discipline. That is pro level.
That is definitely the nerdiest thing.
Take notes, children.
I did that every 3 or 4 days for the entire summer.
Oh my goodness, that's delicious.
That is like, that gets you to like, that's NBA level, you
Thank
know?
you.
Like,
I am an expert
You
fan
are.
ficker.
Yes,
you
I'm
are.
dedicated to
Absolutely.
my craft. So my aunt didn't have internet, so I had my computer, and like, yeah, I would come home and I'd be like, got that floppy disk full of new fics to read.
Oh my.
Set up for the next 3 days.
Nobody talk to me, I'm busy.
It's a great summer.
Oh,
Who needs to see their high school friends for the last time?
Not Diana.
Diana, and here you are today, you know?
I'm thriving.
That's
Thriving.
right. You're not talking about those friends, are you?
One of them's my maid of honor in my wedding.
Okay, that one
Yeah.
you thought about. That one you thought about.
So
but
she
they're-
stuck around.
But we're not doing a podcast.
The rest of them.
And I'm sure you're a lovely person. I'm so sorry.
No, she's great.
All right. I've got, so there are a lot of terms that are used for fan fiction tags. I'm going to name some of them, and I'd like you to define them for me as best you can. Okay. I'm going to start easy. OTP.
OTP is a one true pairing. So this is your favorite pairing in a particular fandom. So it might be the Raylos, as you say, the Ray and Kylos, or whoever you love the most is your one true pairing, your OTP.
Okay. Mary Sue.
Oh, Mary Sue. This is a rude one now. Mary Sue is... Oh, do we call this Mary Sue when you do it yourself? Yeah, I think. It's when you insert yourself into a fan fiction and you live in that world. It was really popular with Lord of the Rings fan fictions.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
I would
People
not have
wanted to
expected that.
live in Middle Earth. They were like, oh no, I got transported to Middle Earth.
Yeah, you sound surprised. Would you not do anything to be transported to Middle Earth?
Babe, my life is Lord of the Rings.
That's very true.
The amount of Hobbit doors we have in our house is
so many. We
uncanny.
have a
Kyah doesn't need the they took care of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. AU.
Alternate universe. So basically you take the characters from the universe they're in, you put them in another universe. Very different from crossover. Not the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. What's crossover then?
Well, crossover is just if your two fandoms cross over. So it's like the Leverage people meet the Buffy people.
Right.
There's
Got
a
it.
crossover.
Got it.
AU is like if the characters from Buffy lived in space instead of in a high school.
Right.
That's
Got
an
it.
AU.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like I remember on our Flag Means Death episode, Netta was talking a lot about AU fanfiction
Yes.
for that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Headcanon.
Headcanon is a thing you believe about the characters, but doesn't actually exist like in the text or the show or the movie. So it's like it's a thing that you've come up with that the fandom usually agrees with. A very small headcanon, like in the Robin fandom, is that Tim Drake is addicted to coffee. It's really not from anything.
Love that, yeah.
But we're like, he's always tired and he's always caffeined up. And that's just a headcanon we've come up with.
Amazing. Plot bunny.
Plot bunny is just like when you get an idea and it just kind of keeps multiplying until you like write it down. So you kind of just like get inspired. You're like, oh, I got a plot bunny. I got a little inspiration.
Oh, that's
That's
fun.
nice.
wanna
That's
use
very
that
cute.
one.
That's a cute little term.
Oh, I got a little
I
inspiration
got a plot bunny.
to write something.
You gotta put it somewhere.
A uke.
A uke.
UKE.
Uke. I'm
Pretty
not
sure that's an instrument.
Great. I don't know what it is. I just found these terms. A dead dove do not eat.
Oh, dead dove do not eat. That is when you've written something like really atrocious. It will usually have like sexual assault or underage sex or pedophilia. So it's like, be warned, I've written some really graphic torture. I've written some really terrible things in this fanfiction. It's good because like you want fanfics to be tagged.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
warned.
Yeah.
Totally.
So it's like a good tag to have.
And some people might want that stuff and be
they
looking
do.
for it.
They're popular.
Oh, completely. My facial reaction, to be clear, is not about the idea that this tag exists or even that people write these fics. Great. It's the fact that that's an Arrested Development.
Yeah, it's an
reference. That's the part that's making me be like, oh my god, of all the fucking references for that,
But, like,
dead dove do not eat.
it's so
I don't know
great
what I expected.
Because that scene is Michael finds a bag and it says dead dove do not eat, and he opens it up and he says, I don't know what I was expecting. So labeling it that means do not come into my mentions and be mad that I wrote about a terrible thing.
Yeah.
I have tagged what happens in this story.
I just love the multiplicity of nerdiness in,
the
in
layers.
the whole community. Is that like every person here knows 18 other fandoms, and like you all communicate through fan
We all know
jokes.
what dead dove do not eat.
That's
Amazing.
so funny. I
Amazing.
love it so much.
Filk.
Filk. Oh, I kind of know what Filk is. Some of these just aren't my fandoms.
Okay, okay. Any of them that you're like, don't know? Just
I
say
actually,
don't know.
I do not know what Filk is
Okay.
off the top of my head.
TPTB.
Oh, the powers that be.
Okay.
So that just kind of means like the showrunner or the writer of the movie or the writer of the book. So like the actual like who's in charge of the canon. So the
Got
powers
it.
that be.
RFP.
Real fan? RFP? Yeah. Real
Oh, RPF.
RPF.
Yes.
I'm like, these don't match. Real person fan fiction.
So
this is fan fiction about the actors, not so much the characters.
Amazing. Do you have one, Kyah?
Filk refers to stories written along the lines of a song, usually a parody of either the fandom or the song itself.
Oh, okay. I always skip song fics. So
Crackfic.
crackfic is when you've written people like in a really silly situation that's really out of character. So it's like I don't even like what's the craziest thing I can even like everything kind of counts, but it's, I don't know, the Lord of the Rings all like got high on mushroom pollen or something.
Amazing.
So like
Beautiful.
yeah, so
And
just
shit's gonna get
crackfic,
weird.
yeah, it's just silly. It's not
Yeah.
even necessarily sexual. It can just
Yeah.
be silly.
Beautiful. Speaking of pollen, sex pollen.
Sex pollen.
Oh, no.
Sex pollen is a common trope if you want two characters to have sex and you just don't want to write a plot about it. You're like, I don't need to write the angst and the discussions about should we, shouldn't we. What if we just got exposed to sex pollen and had sex?
So it's the ordering a pizza or like plumber needs to come over of fan fiction.
So if you just want to get straight to the sex, it's like, oh, sex pollen.
I love it so much. I love that these things happen enough that
Just
we
a
need
fun
to come up with
shortcut.
words.
Like, I like the idea that we respect plot so much that it's like, well, they can't just start having sex. There needs to be a reason.
Okay, it's sex pollen. Great.
There's pollen. Because it's usually characters, as I said, aren't like a couple in canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what would make them? It's like, what about sex pollen? And
That would do it.
Sometimes it can lead to really nice stories because after the sex pollen makes them have sex, like once it wears off, they're like, should we talk about if we actually like each other? Or like, it can actually like lead into a cool thing.
Because now they've had that. Now they have to
they've,
what does that mean for us?
The first step's been taken. It's like, should we do it again?
Should we find some more sex pollen? I
Did
don't
we
know.
like that because it was sex pollen or did we just like it?
Turns out it was regular pollen all along.
Oh.
Twists.
I read a story that did that.
I'm sure I can say
dream it.
just about anything,
Yeah.
and you have read that story.
You could dream it there as a fanfic.
Yeah.
Drabble.
Drabble, just a really short fan fiction. Just a little quick idea you had, maybe only like a couple hundred words.
Great. Keeper.
Keeper. Huh. Don't know.
I don't know what that one is either. And this one I do know, but Squick.
Oh, Squick is like things that you just don't like that make you go like, oh, no thank you. So your
Not your
Squicks
thing.
are just like all the tags you're probably going to block on Archive of Our Own. Like, don't show me any of those.
Yeah.
Got it. Are there any other ones that not covered here that you think that anyone listening who's just learning about fan fiction needs to know so they either do or don't get exposed to something?
Mpreg was not there. That's
Yeah.
a big one. Mpreg is male pregnancy. That one comes up a lot.
I did see that, but I was like, how big is this?
It's
That's wild to me. That's
that
wild
might
to me.
be bigger than some of the ones you actually
Oh my
said.
God.
Bigger than Filk. Tell you that. Mpreg is like, I actually feel like maybe it's had a slight downfall. Mpreg used to be really prominent and it's,
I mean, there was a movie about it.
I mean, I actually feel like, but Mpreg back in the day was not about being trans, and now I feel like when there's Mpreg, you've just kind of made a trans character, like they're male and they're trans, and they can carry a baby. But I feel like back in the day, it was always like magic happens, or I want a cisgender man to have to carry a baby.
I love that this is a fantasy for women.
I either want that to be like a burden for them to appreciate what I go through, or that's a sexual thing that like I'm interested in. I'm guessing. I actually don't read Mpreg, but yeah, I have noticed it fall off in recent years. I think
Okay.
as like a thing people are interested about.
Interesting.
Fascinating.
I would say you also did not include, very important, would be ABO, the werewolf stories.
what?
Tell me more.
What does ABO mean?
Alpha, beta, omega.
Okay.
Because those are the types of werewolves. You can be an alpha werewolf, you can be a beta werewolf, you can be an
Okay,
omega
yeah,
werewolf.
of course.
So these are stories, and like, yeah, these are also very popular. These are up there with Mpreg.
Oh my God.
Where people either are werewolves or they have werewolf characteristics, but not just like some people, the entire society.
Okay.
So it's a society of
Interesting.
werewolves, and like you're an alpha in like at work and in life and with your partners.
How is that different from an AU, or is it just a specific type of AU?
It's a very specific type
Got
of
it.
AU.
Got it. Okay.
So
Interesting.
that kind of happens a lot. It's kind of like if like the characters in Teen Wolf who were wolves were like everyone.
Okay.
And interesting, like, to think about, because if everyone's a werewolf, is anyone a werewolf?
Yeah, because you still turn into a wolf. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wow.
Well, there goes that line of thinking.
Well, we are about to wrap up. Is there anything you need to put into the world about fan fiction that you're like, I have to say this. I have to get this off my chest.
Something people don't understand about it.
I mean, a lot of things. Like, yeah, as we've just discussed, it's not all just sex stuff. I actually read and write predominantly nothing with sex. I write mostly stuff that can just be like canon to the universe it's set in, I'm like, I'm just gonna write my own little story real quick.
Hell yeah.
Like in between episode stories or just like divergent stories. So yeah, like there's definitely a lot of sex, don't get me wrong. But
Let's not pretend.
yeah, but there is a huge gamut. I really appreciate that fan fiction kind of isn't as faux pas as it used to be. I think my end remarks will be leave Archive of Our Own alone. It's great and it doesn't need censorship, which is a huge
Are people
argument.
coming for it?
Oh, people have been coming for it for a long time.
Then just don't go on the website.
Yeah.
F off.
Because they don't like that they allow everything. Like, you shouldn't allow stories with, like, sexual assault. You shouldn't allow stories with underage kids having sex or pedophilia.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't censor anything. It's an archive. Because once you start censoring something, it's like...
Who decides?
Who decides? The line gets pushed back.
Yeah.
People are... want to censor things for the wrong reasons, that they shroud in the right reasons. The right choice is always to just let people do their thing.
Yeah.
And like literally it's just fan fictions. Like there was one girl who was trying to get on like the board of Archive of Her Own. It's like a voted board. And she was hard for censorship. And we did not vote for her. But she did have a subset of people who was like, yes, we want this filth off our website.
But you just don't have to read it.
You don't it
That's why
has
the
such a
tags are
good
there.
tagging system that you absolutely can take out everything you don't want to read.
Yeah.
People pretty much the only action Archive of Our Own ever takes is if you don't tag your fics properly.
Right.
Come for you.
That's the biggest
and they don't even
thing.
come for you. They're just like, fix your tags.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very good that it's cool that you can vote on stuff though. I didn't realize
It's
that.
totally, you can vote for the board. They're totally open about it. They're a wildly transparent website about everything that happens. They do
so cool.
incredible work.
That's
I
amazing.
love visiting them and posting my fan fictions there. So yes, leave them alone. They're allowed to ask for money because they're completely pro bono and they have lawyers to pay. Everyone gets mad when they do their fundraiser once a year.
Wait, really?
Yes, people get mad about the fundraiser.
You
to
get
exist
free content.
Free content, no ads. Yeah.
Just be
Owned.
grateful.
Owned by us. Oh, also made me a Nebula winner. Was it Nebula or a Pulitzer Prize? What did we all win?
Wait,
the
what?
website won a huge award for being like a transformative work, and it meant that everyone who had posted on there also technically won it.
Oh my God.
That's incredible. I love
Holy
that.
shit. We're going to
Because,
definitely.
it's an archive. No one person wrote it.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what award it was.
Okay, well, it's going to be,
We're gonna
we'll
find
find it.
out.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll find out.
It'll be in our nerds letter on our
Oh,
website.
excellent. Yes, check the Nerds letter, listeners.
Yeah, speaking of supplementary materials, we will put everything there, including maybe some cool links to some cool fictions.
Oh my gosh. Well, at the end of every episode, we like to share our micro fandoms of the week, which we're going to do in just one hot little moment. But before we do, there's some other ways you can connect with us. We want to remind you that while the show will always be free, we also have a Patreon where you can get even more fandom, such as the supplementals for every episode. So head to patreon.com/The Fandom Show, where for just a couple bucks a month, you get episodes early and ad-free. You can check out the Nerds Letter episode supplements, which include media that we've mentioned on the show, some fun tidbits, and things that we didn't get to cover on the episode. Or you can listen to our patron exclusive The Fan Club, where we watch movies that one of us loves and the other has never seen. You can also find us on social media at Fandom Show Pod or over on our website at thefandomshow.com.
Please, we implore you, tell all of your nerdiest friends about us,
Tell
or tell your not nerdiest. Tell everyone. Tell everyone you
everyone.
know. Tell your family. Tell your friends. And if you want to do us a huge favor, a real solid, you can get on your podcast provider of choice, and you can do a little rate, review, and subscribe. That is how podcasts are found. That's how they're loved. So if you like this show and you want to help us out, you can always write a little review, or you can rate it. That helps us move up in the charts, and that means we can have more fans of fans.
Fans. Also, if you're watching on the live stream right now, just open up a fresh tab, man. Head on over to Apple or whatever you listen to podcasts on. Give us a little rate and review. It really, really helps. We're not just pandering. It truly makes a difference.
So helpful for getting us out there, so we can do this show longer and we can cover all of the fandoms in the world, which is our dream.
Weird. It's really hard to promote a podcast that is about everything.
As it turns out.
Surprise!
Yeah. But if you do love it and you want some merch, you can head over to tpublic.com/stores/thefandomshow/ and snag our faces on your favorite things like shirts, mugs, and more.
I love that you put that extra slash, even though I put in that extra slash.
Yeah. Well, it's slash.
Also, if you're on Discord, From Superheroes has a Discord, but we also have a little tiny sub Discord of their Discord. You can meet other fans, or you can hit us up directly. I'm definitely on there more than Kyah is, but we all are on there sometimes.
Heck yeah. And our theme song is by Yusu Kim, and our logo is by John Blair. And now for our micro fandoms of the week, starting with you, Steph.
Okay, so this actually ties into our Patreon because this month's Patreon is I got Kyah to finally watch The Warriors, which is it's so iconic.
I'm going to say it right now. I had a great time.
It's great.
I had a great
It's
time.
so good.
I won't say
seen The
any more
Warriors.
details, but I say them all on the podcast. So
And
go check that out.
Part of why we did it is because of the thing that is my microfandom of the week. Lin-Manuel Miranda is writing a Warriors musical. And he finally released the concept album, which he did this for Hamilton as well, which is a collection of songs. And you can listen to the whole Warriors concept album now. He's made some changes. It's so fun. And especially I started listening to it right after we watched it. So everything was so fresh. And I was just like, oh, I get that reference. Oh my God, that's that. Oh, and now they're all women and they're all badass women. It has, I forget her full name. She plays Peggy in Hamilton.
Oh, yeah.
And Peggy.
Oh,
yeah.
she's so good.
She's so good, and she's one of the Warriors. And just, I'm so excited to see how this comes out because the Warriors, I've loved it for so many years, and I'm so glad that it's coming back into pop culture. It did, in 2005, have a huge moment where it kind of came back because there was a video game, there's a 20th anniversary, I guess 30th anniversary? 25th? Ugh. But it had a resurgence, and it was so fun to get part of that, and now it's going to come back again, and I'm so excited. Kyah, what's your microfandom?
Well, I recently read Misery. I've been looking for that book for years and years and years because I like buying books used, and sometimes I just hunt for them. I could buy them new, but I just like the hunt of going into used bookstores. And I had finally found Misery recently, just in time for Halloween. So I finally got to read a spooky book around Halloween, and I had the best time. And it's just like, I love reading old Stephen King. It's
Stephen
just
King's
like
classic.
Yeah, it's just so classic, and like
Classic
I love.
Whumper.
I mean, yes, he's so wildly injured that entire time.
I should read Misery.
Yeah, dude,
I know what happens, but I think I'd like it.
I will say, I don't know if I'd say he's exactly cared for.
Oh, yeah, just the hurt, no comfort.
Yeah, it's a lot of hurt.
That is a category that I actually don't usually fall for.
Yeah,
so.
there's some comfort, but it's immediately followed by so much more hurt.
So much more hurt.
But it is a really compelling story, and like I really like the movie. We also watched that for our podcast
did, 'cause I had
you had
never
never seen
seen it.
it.
Yeah.
And we found too many similarities between you and Annie Wilkes.
It's not good for me.
Kyah, are you going to be okay?
All the innocuous similarities, none of the bad ones.
Yes.
You just really want a little pig.
I want a little pig.
Oh, that's universal.
Yeah, see?
And she dresses a bit like a lesbian.
Yeah, and she has some outfits you would own.
And some I do.
Anyway, but I love her as a villain. I find her so fascinating, and it was just so much fun to live in her head for that little while. So like go back and find those books. Go back and find those old books. They're a really, really good time. Okay, Diana.
My microfandom, before we begin, it was a Hugo Award. That
Oh,
hardcover
Hugo Award.
That's
awesome. Amazing.
That is from Andrew Ivamy, Googling things in the other room.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, producer Andrew. My actual fandom, oh my God, this is the fan fiction episode, so I'm going to talk about it. And I apologize to all the podcasts and people I've talked to it about. I love the show 911. It's the silly firefighter show on ABC. It used to be on Fox, and they moved to ABC 2 years ago. And ABC was like, we're going to give you actual money, and we're going to like promote it now.
That's great.
And the show's been so much better. It's also like still like the #1 show on ABC. It gets more views than Grey's Anatomy.
What?
Wow, that's
and
impressive.
I just love it. It is just like easy to watch, also everyone's always like Netflix or like all these shows only have 8 episodes and I don't get to go to the characters, and I'm like, 911 has 22 episodes a season.
They still make
In this
those?
day and age?
This day and age, not like last year because of the writers and actors strike, but every other year. And I'm like, I feel like I know these characters.
That's
I'm so
amazing.
attached to them. I absolutely love them. And it's exactly what I said about like Whump and Hurt Comfort and like Put Willow in Danger. It's like, also they're firefighters. And every
They're
single
always
week
in danger.
I'm like, oh, that building is burning.
Oh, they're in trouble.
Oh no, the B-NATO.
I love this so much.
And it was just, it's fun. It's easy to watch. It's a diverse show. It's really nice. There's queer leads.
Yay.
It's like it just makes me feel good, and I'm so glad there's so many episodes of it, because just every week I get a new one and I'm like, oh, I'm just happy and relaxed even though they're in danger. They're not gonna die, because like, here's a weird spoiler. It's been on for 8 seasons and they've never killed a main.
Wow.
Which is like, it just makes you like, you're like, well, they're never gonna. So I can just sit back and be like,
You can feel safe a bit.
Angela Bassett's cool.
So it really is the opposite of Grey's Anatomy,
Yeah.
where they'll just kill everyone
They
and
don't
anyone.
care.
Oh, okay.
They'll murder everyone.
Yeah, no, it's the absolute opposite. They're like, oh yeah, it's like 8 firefighters and then 1 cop, which is Angela Bassett, and like we never kill them. People will die, like the people they're trying to rescue.
Yeah, of course.
Die all the time, and it actually can be very emotional.
Yeah.
But like,
it's
yeah,
not your babies.
No, my boys are always
boys.
fine.
Good boys are safe.
My boys are fine, and I've written so many fan fictions about them.
They're a big community for it.
Oh, they're huge. They're a big one. They're like, I think they're like at the same level at this point as like Shadowhunters, which was like
Wow.
Dang, I
So-
love it.
they're a real big one. I love 911. It's just easy to watch. It's not your standard procedural, or maybe it is. Procedurals are actually fun.
They're very comforting to watch. You
are.
know what you're expecting.
the reason they work.
You absolutely. There's a reason we made that the procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Because it works. And also you can get like really into the characters. Like I really liked the characters in CSI.
Yeah, CSI liked the characters. I mean, like Buffy though used to have so many episodes.
That
The
is-
seasons were so long. Like I miss shows that were just long, and
Let
you
us
could get to
sit
know the
with those characters.
Yeah.
Let them have a day that's boring.
Yes, let me have like a one-off episode. It's not about anything.
Yes,
Yeah.
I straight up miss filler episodes so
I
much.
miss them so
I
much.
loved filler episodes, not because they're obviously not going to be the best episode of the show, but they're the ones where you get to hang out.
And see other facets of those characters' lives and personalities.
And they're goofy and sometimes really fucking dumb, and I miss them. I miss
miss
when
them.
TV was dumb.
Bring them back.
Yeah, if you're only doing 8 episodes, you're never getting a filler episode.
No, you barely get enough to do your plot.
So 911, I love that show.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here, Diana. Where can people find you? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, should I plug anything?
Let us think. I wonder if there's
possibly
anything
plug?
within arm's reach you could plug.
I think I'll plug myself and I'll plug fan fiction. My first book is coming out, published by Penguin Random House, and I wouldn't have a book if I didn't write fan fiction.
Huge.
Yes,
So
because
awesome.
Writing fan fiction made me love writing. It made it easy to write. It gave me like all the tools. It actually gives you people who like will read what you're writing
Yeah.
and give you tips about what they liked and what's working for them. Like, it's so hard to get people to read your writing.
Yeah.
That writing fan fiction can really be like, oh, I actually got eyes on something I wrote,
Yeah.
and like feedback.
Yeah.
So anyway, but now I've written a book, which isn't actually fiction, it's nonfiction, but I'm still writing. So Sex Lives of Superheroes is a comedic and scientific look at how superpowers would affect the superheroes affect the sex lives of the heroes who have those powers. So it's like, would Wolverine's sperm be immortal and have his healing ability like he would have? Would Spider-Man's semen be radioactive enough to give his wife cancer, which actually happened in the comics? So
Really?
Yes. So I go through
God.
like scientific studies. I'm like, so can semen be radioactive, and how radioactive can it be, and how radioactive is that
Whoa.
compared to like how radioactive blood can be? So I go through scientifically and kind of answer all these crazy questions about the sex lives of superheroes, and it's very fun. I had a great time writing it. If you like fan stuff, if you like superheroes, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's available November 19th. Wherever you get books, I'm going to say probably, Penguin Random House sends it pretty much everywhere. I'm going to trust listeners know where books, you got your own book guy.
You know
Got a
about
book
Got a
guy.
book guy. Let's be honest.
Also available as an audiobook narrated by the wonderful Andrew Ivan.
That's how I'm
Hell
going to
yeah.
be taking it in.
Oh, you're good with Andrew's dulcet tones.
Aw.
Telling my jokes.
I'm gonna be reading it.
So that comes out November 19th. And if you just want to check me out, my podcast is called Talk from Superheroes, which I host also with Andrew Ivamy. And I'm on, where am I? I'm on X at Words of Diana sometimes. I'm on Threads, Pics of Diana, Instagram Pics of Diana, because those names have to match. And I'm on Tumblr at Words of Diana, which is where like all the magic happens.
If you do not know already, Diana loves Tumblr, and it's
the
amazing.
only good social media left in the world.
She has me convinced,
Respect.
frankly. Yeah.
Absolutely.
A
Well,
lot of fanfic there.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Well, thank you so much. Until next time, love the things you love and tell everyone about them. Bye. Bye. The Fandom Show.
The Fandom Show.